The situation is getting worse because so many water sources are being dried up due to continued human activities, and it looks like nobody is taking care of the environment here. At the end of the day, the farmers are the ones who are the most victims. The change from conventional farming to regen farming should begin in the mind of the people. That's what I believe. I will continue to disseminate information, good news about the power of regenerative farming. My own farm that will be establishing soon will be like a model here in Kigoma, western part of Tanzania.
Welcome to another episode of We Are Carbon. I'm Helen Fisher, and we're catching back up with Jackson Buzingo, who joined us over 2 years ago in the first season of the podcast. When we first spoke with Jackson, he shared of the devastation that depleted soil was causing within his community in Tanzania, East Africa. Dried up rivers and failing harvests leading to desperate times for his family. Realising that this was about human mismanagement on the lands, Jackson set out to educate himself and hundreds of smallholder farmers around him to demonstrate the possibilities of regeneration in agriculture. Today's conversation is one of contrasts. Jackson is at a turning point in his journey, at the exciting moment of getting started with his own regenerative farm, which aspires to become a model for profitable food production in Tanzania through regenerative practices. He shares so many insights into the steps he's looking to take, along with a raw transparency of the challenges that communities like his are facing on the road to transition. The need for systems change comes through strongly, and both myself and Jackson believe in the big role that awareness and communication play within that journey of bigger change. So I hope you'll enjoy listening through and let it sit with you as Jackson offers a new layer of understanding in the challenges of global transition. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date. We have new episodes every other Tuesday. And let's get stuck in. Could you share with us a little bit about your plans for starting this farm? Because I think it would be so insightful for others to learn of the challenges and learn of the thought process. How are you going to approach it? You're going to regenerate the land through your farming, but what does that actually mean in practice?
Yeah, well, what I'm planning right now is to design the farm to be mostly dedicated to do business. So I want to start a regen farm, like 4 to 10 acres, so that I can be able to regenerate the soil and also grow some crops, a variety of crops that I'll be selling in the market right now, because there are some like a regular produce from the farms that are very needed in the market right now. For example, tomato, there is watermelon, chili. All of these crops are in high demand in the market. So what I'm trying to do here is to design the farm based on the syntropic agroforestry and regenerative methods, because previously I used to work a lot to assist smallholder farmers practice their own farms in the community farms as well. But for this moment, now I want to establish my own farm, because previously I did not own my own farm. I was just training them for the community farms.
That's answered so many questions. So you're looking at using the syntropic agroforestry as a approach for a cash crop, essentially, for creating produce that you'll sell and you'll have your own farming business. That's really exciting. Congratulations.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much.
So you say this is 4 to 10 acres, did you say?
That for the first time, I will begin with the 4 hectares to establish this farm. And then after after harvest of this produce, then I will go to another level for this remaining 60 hectares.
Fantastic. That's amazing. So you've got a plan of expansion already.
Yeah.
And we're talking hectares, not acres, which I made an error there. So this is really exciting. And I think there's so much that people can learn from the journey that you've been on, as well as the plans that you've got ahead of you. So in terms of the community farms that you've been teaching on, what is the difference there? Is the ambition to feed themselves and their families rather than using the land to put food into the markets?
Yeah, the motive for the DC demonstration farms that I used was only to underscore the importance of regenerative agroforestry in the farmers' daily life, so that they can be able as well to get this knowledge and also adopt it in their own farms. So that was the basis, and that was the motives for the establishment of these demo farms. But most of the farms have started now to use these methods in the farms. For example, I've talked with several farmers. They are now integrating even their kettles into regenerative agroforestry farms. So that was one of the amazing success that you have heard from the farmers firsthand when I visited them last week. So on my own now, I have already made some sort of plans. For the first time when I want to establish my farm, I want to put there this crops that I'll be able to sell in the market because they are in high demand, especially tomato, watermelon, and chili or pepper, because I'm in high demand right now. So once I'll be growing all these crops. I plan as well in the meantime to start to install beehives, and so that I can be able to harvest honey from the process of beekeeping, as well as establishing my poultry farm together in these 10 hectares, because I have already even bought a incubator that he used to hatch eggs.
Incredible. So it's a very diverse plan and very exciting indeed. How about the sort of more perennial plants that would potentially go into some of the food forests that you've done in the past? Are you looking to incorporate a lot of trees into your new farm, or will it be completely different to that?
Yeah, I plan also to include some trees, especially this Gesidia spesepium, which is very rich in nitrogen. I plan also to include what you call groundnuts or some sort of peas in my farm, because these are very rich in nitrogen, because they will assist the soil to make it to be healthy. So I have many plans to make sure that the farm after a year will look so different.
And when we spoke last time, you were very kind of, it's quite striking, the experience that you'd had growing up and seeing the climate change on the family farm and the rivers drying up and no access to water. Have you got any sort of new experiences of how the landscape is changing?
Yeah, so far the situation is getting worse, because so many water sources are being dried up due to continued human activities, and it looks like nobody is taking care of the environment here, because even the government, they use just to speak in the public, but no one is taking action, especially to stop these these activities that are unfriendly to the environment. But at the end of the day, the farmers are the ones who are the most victims. So most of them, they have also tried to change the habit for themselves, especially for those who are growing crops nearby the water sources. Have started to plant some trees, but it's not in the huge numbers. So still, we need some work to be done.
Yeah, so it's something that you feel that there is a solution that you can take action on, but it's just not being done at scale.
Yeah.
It's always been very inspiring to me to learn about the work that you've done and the motivation behind. You seem very driven and very passionate about seeing change for the community. Would you say that the experience you've had on the demo farms has filled you with hope that there is possibility to transform and get people more involved with these ways?
Yeah, well, the education that have been disseminating to the smallholder farmers and the community has been well received by them. But the only challenges that we're still facing is most of the farmers, they are still receiving subsidy, the subsidy fertilizers from the government. So that's the problem, because the guy, it's like we establish something, and then the government also comes to instill another thing, which is different from what we used to instill to the people. So then it brings us to the point of like we don't agree each other, but that's how the reality is. But some of the farmers practice what we said, and the others they don't. So that's the challenge that we still have.
So it's a very, very big challenge when it comes down to ensuring that the farmers are actually financially supported in the decisions that they make. And of course, anything that they do to transition from one practice to another, it can be very time consuming and take several seasons before they might feel the benefits. Have you come across anything in the work where there are establishing and growing support from, whether that's a sort of a charity or a different organisation, that is coming along and helping to build a network that helps to support that transition? Or do you feel like it's kind of quite on your own and isolated?
Yeah, I believe that it's like an isolated like what we are doing here with the government. Looks like they don't care. They don't care if smallholder farmers should go into transition from the conventional farming to the regen farming, because what I have been experiencing here, especially when I came here, I also saw many smallholder farmers. They were still practicing conventional farming, despite that we have already trained some of them about the regen farming and the importance of it. So it looks like the government overpowers us in terms of knowledge sharing of regenerative farming, compared to the conventional farming that they try to instill to the people, and also to provide them these subsidies in terms of fertilizer and pesticides. That's a challenge.
Could I ask then, what is the typical conventional practice for the farmers in your community? What does that experience look like? Are they succeeding and having good financial income from their farms, or is it a struggle even with the subsidies?
They do not succeed at all. I can tell the reality. They are not succeeding at any rate. What they are doing here is they receive this subsidy fertilizer from the government. They use it to grow tobacco. I don't know if you know tobacco leaves. They grow tobacco. So once they grow tobacco, they remain these fertilizers. They use it to sell to other people. so that they can have some sort of income for themselves. So once they get the income from the tobacco when they sell it after harvest, then they go also to buy these food produces from other smallholder farmers. This is how it is here in my community.
So the food growing in your community, does that stay within the community, or are there a lot of farmers that are growing for the commodity markets?
Absolutely. Most of the food remains here because there you can find like some of the smallholder farmers. They're smallholder farmers, but they do not grow food crops. They grow only cash crops like tobacco. So once they have money, they use it to buy food crops as well.
Okay, so that's very interesting. So they're not really earning a living from growing food, they're earning a living from growing crops like tobacco that are not feeding the world in any way at all. And that tobacco is being produced in methods that's actually detrimental to the soil and the climate there.
Absolutely. This is what we have been complaining with them a lot, because they also clear forests a lot when they want to dry this tobacco. We have complained a lot to the government, but nobody is taking. Nobody want to hear us, because these tobacco companies they provide huge funding to the government, so it's very hard to stop them for us.
Yeah. So we're really getting the sense of the challenge, but also remembering that real feeling of excitement when you were speaking last time about your food forest and the experience of growing in that regenerative way and the transformation of the land. Do you have any experience since we spoke that has really left you feeling quite inspired that people can become self-sufficient for their own food?
Well, since I just made this demonstration farm, for example, one demonstration farm was established in Kasulu, in one of the village called Lalambe in Kasulu district. That farm is still alive even today. And the fortunate thing is, even the farmers and also the community, they are still wondering that this, for example, this season is a dry season. All the environment around there is very dry, very dry. There's no any green out there. But in the farm, in the demonstration farm that I just established 2 years ago, it is still intact and it's very green. Only in this farm. And we do not really irrigate it. We don't irrigate it even now. But it is still green. And this is a dry season, and the nearby places there, some sort of bushes are all dry. But in the farm, it's green.
Yes. Well, that's just magic. To me, that's magic to think of being able to see that. Do people comment on that observation? They are able to witness that has the resilience to last through the dry season. Do other farmers make inquiries to learn how it's done?
Absolutely. They normally come, and some, because the farm was established along the road, some of the people who are passing by along the road as well, sometimes they stop their trip and come to see the farm, and they are so shocked to see, they're so surprised to see how can this happen in the broad daylight like this, that all places here are very dry, but this farm is very green. They also wondering, some of them ask that maybe you try to get some water there here. We say no, we don't get here. So it's something that the farmers and also those who are also not practicing farming, they are also seeing it like amazing activity that it has never been experienced before.
That's fantastic. That's something of like a little bright spark in a very trying conditions. And I think it's amazing that there isn't more that gets birthed from something like that. It seems like it's a little ember there in the midst of the challenges, and it's not being fanned. The flame's not being fanned so that it can expand. And I would love to hear from your experience if you have any thoughts on how that could be supported as a project. Is it about having more people? Is it about having more land access? What is it that is needed in order to take that inspiration and grow it?
I think the best way for now is to make sure many people have that knowledge, because the change from conventional farming to regen farming should begin in the mind of the people. That's what I believe, because when the people they become aware of the conventional farming and how well regenerative farming can be helpful for them, in not only in terms of reviving the soil health, but also our environment and also their own food. That would make a very huge impact for them to start to another dimension of establishing this farm. So I suppose creating awareness is the most important thing for now, compared to establishing more food forests, because once people they are becoming they have already been aware of what is going on, then passing through them through these demo farms, it should be an easy way for them to know and how well they can practice to start regenerative farming in a small plot, and then to apply it in the very huge farm, like more than 1 hectare to 10 or more.
It's so wonderful to know that it is possible, and when the energy is put into it, it keeps expanding on its ability to be resilient.
I just received a call from some farmers. They're asking me when I will go to visit them to see their farms. It's like I'm being like they have a very huge passion for me. That please, you come just to see our farms. So this is one of the issues that console my heart, and it makes me happy that the awareness that they got, many farmers are still in need to make sure that the thing that we practiced 2 years ago can be fruitful in their farms. So they feel like although they were well instructed and they were well taught how well they can practice it, but they want me as an expert to go there to see their farms if they did it correctly. So that improves my heart, and feel like this is what I wish to see in the community, that people have changed their mind. Now they feel like the farming is the real solution for the challenges that we are facing in all dimensions of our lives, especially to create a better health and a better planet for all of us.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful that people recognize the ability that you've got to teach and to inspire, and it must be very difficult for you to find the time to kind of stretch yourself in all those different directions. But congratulations again for what you are doing, because you are putting your energy in and it is being noted and making a difference. Going back to your own plans for your farm coming up, how are you going to get started? What are you thinking about when you take those first steps on the land itself?
Well, right now I have started to ask you for some farm inputs, especially manure. There are very bit of the manure in my farm, and fortunately enough, is there are some cattles that belongs to private farmers. So I will buy some manure from them, and then I will come to supply in my farm. This is the plan that I have first hand, and also the second one is I have already explored the place where I will establish like a small swamp, where I will be able to take some water, where I will install the pump so that I can be able to irrigate my farm. This is the first steps that I've already taken to make sure that I can have a very smooth, smooth preparation of my farm.
Fantastic. So you're thinking about getting that fertility into the soil straight away.
Yeah, because I need to make sure that I feed the soil first. This is the most important thing.
Will you have your own source of manure or your own source of biomass as one of the sort of second priorities, how you'll create that on the farm itself?
Yeah, for the first time, I will buy for manure from other farms. Either from other people who have that manure. But my long-term plan is, I think at the end of this year, when I get my first harvest from my produce, I will sell them, and when I sell them, the money that I will get from them, I'm going to buy cattle, especially cows. And in terms of poultry, I have already bought an incubator for hatching eggs, and I think I will receive it by tomorrow. So I think I will have enough inputs at the end of this year, because I'll be having manure from cows. I'll be also having manure as well from chicken, which is very good. And also I had some rabbits area. I gave some farmers to reproduce them. So I will get some of them back as well for my farm. So I think I'll be in a good position because I'll be having many inputs to feed the soil.
Fantastic. In terms of how the farm is in the starting place, has it been intensively farmed and quite depleted in the state that you're receiving it?
Yeah, the farm was not so much depleted, but according to the owners, they say that in the past they used to use fertilizer. They use a chemical fertilizer a lot to grow some crops there. So that's why I need a variety of inputs to make sure that I can be able to build back the soil health and to make sure that the soil can be like independent to feed my plants. I will make sure that the design that I install in my farm will be like the way how Regen farm should look like. Because even if I will not be putting trees for this moment, but the crops that I will grow them, and I will design it to be like in the same way how it should look like in the food forest. I'll be using different methods like matching. I'll put some sort of matching, but also in some of the crops, I will also use some cover crops, which would assist me to cover the soil especially because, for example, watermelon also can serve as a cover crops because they can expand to a larger area. So I will use all the method that I know to make sure that the soil can still continue to be intact with the crops that is being grown on.
Wonderful. And will you be needing to establish grass areas for the cows, or is that already part of the land?
I plan to establish the grassy, area during the rain season, because for this moment, it will be not convenient to establish a grass line because of the weather. Because most of the grass, they need enough water. And this moment, water is not enough. So what I will be doing is to make sure that I have a very good space between the plants. I have also some sort of levels of these crops to make sure that they can feed each other in terms of the shade from the sun.
If we think about how you've come to the design of this farm, you've started out by saying it's intentionally a business and you're choosing the crops so that they can be profitable. Do you have a quite a accessible route to market for the produce that you're planning?
Yeah, so far, I have the market in Dar es Salaam, and so far my farm where it is located is not far from the main road that's going to Dar es Salaam. And right now, I would like to say that transport is not a big issue for now because I can be able to harvest my produce, for example, on evening like this, and then by tomorrow early in the morning, my produce will be in Dar es Salaam, and it would just take like up to 2 hours, and my whole luggage of the produce is over. So the market is very accessible.
That's fantastic. So it'll be really nice and fresh for people to,
Yeah,
yeah, and it will be eaten essentially by your local community then.
absolutely. I plan to sell in my local community, and also the surplus I will send to Dar es Salaam.
And if other people, maybe within East Africa, have similar conditions and they would like to do a similar project, they'd like to approach their farm in a new way, is obtaining the seeds to start this journey, is that quite easy for you?
Yeah, well, in my community, most of the farmers they have these native seeds. They are saving them. Most of the farmers in Tanzania, it's not the same like how it used to be in Kenya. In Kenya, most of the farmers are suffering because this native seeds has been banned. But in Tanzania, nothing like that has happened. So the farmers have the native seeds that are being used for growing in the farm. For example, for the chili, I can use a 1 kilo packet of chili to grow in 1 hectare. And this is for native seed. I can get a lot of produce, a lot. So native seed are very powerful. And fortunately enough, they are not banned here in my community, and they are also very cheap because this 1 kilo packed for chili, for example, is being sold for 10 euro, 10 euro for this package, and I can utilize this for the whole 1 hectare, 1 hectare.
That's really interesting. There's a lot of different things that you've kind of brought through in that. And so these seeds are native to Tanzania
Yeah.
or native, yeah. And and because of that, they're accessible, they're affordable. And yeah, if you were in Kenya, that wouldn't be the case. You wouldn't simply
Yeah,
not be allowed to use them.
yeah, of course. They have a lot of challenges in Kenya.
Is that true of many other areas in East Africa, or is it Kenya quite an isolated example?
Yeah, mostly in Kenya because they even passed the law to ban these seeds. That's a problem. So it was regulated by the government that local seeds should be banned. So they only promote the government. They only promote these GMOs, which in many countries in East Africa they don't support it, including my country, Tanzania.
Yeah, that is a really interesting aspect of all of this, and how wonderful that it isn't impacting you, because it's such a nonsensical approach to ban native seeds for your farming
Yeah.
community. I mean, how it's like tying their hands behind the back and asking them to work. It's ridiculous. I can't think of anything to say other than that. It's clearly a huge problem, but
It's because they have a lot of companies there. You know, Kenya is one of the country in East Africa which has many seed companies. They sell in the whole of East Africa. All 5 countries. Most of the seeds are from Kenya. So that's why they feel like when native seeds can be continued to be promoted, to be used, they are going to lose market. I think that's why. So they use their lobby. They are lobbying the government by corruption. They bribe the government officials to make sure that they can be able to pass that law. And they were able to. They succeeded to pass that law, but the farmers stood up against them. But the law still operates. But the farmers has been reluctant to. They have started to save their own seeds in many communities in Kenya. I've been there. I saw it with my own eyes.
They have started to save their own seeds.
Yeah, they are saving their own seeds.
And is that just a defiance?
Yeah, but the law just prohibits the promotion of native seeds and the dissemination. That if someone has a seed, should not disseminate. Should use it maybe by his own. They should not be disseminated or promoted.
So
Yeah.
they can save their own seeds to grow their own produce, and then
Yeah.
they can still sell that produce.
Yeah, absolutely. So most of them, they when they grow, they save their produce to make sure that they have the seed for the next season.
Okay, that makes one workaround, and what a strange way of doing it. But yeah, I think it's important. There's so many layers of this about that simple food sovereignty and access to food, and to be able to feed your own family and your own community. Do you find that the idea of just access to food in general is a big challenge for your community throughout the year?
Absolutely. Especially for this moment, it's a very huge challenge because these big agriculture companies, they are trying their best to make sure they restrict the availability of these seeds. They make sure only what should be promoted is the chemical fertilizers from them. So sometimes they feel like what we are doing is nonsense. That we are persuading farmers to go against the conventional farming. So they feel like we're against the government. That's what is happening. So sometimes it's very hard. That's a challenge that you are facing. But the community are the main victim on this.
Yes, it's a strange situation to be in. It's a horrible place to be put into, but I think it's wonderful. The work that you're doing is clearly very impactful and very needed, and that knowledge sharing, is that something that you aspire to keep on doing, to keep on being connected with the teaching side of things, whilst you undertake this very time-consuming process of starting your own farm?
Yeah, well, my plan is to make sure that this my own farm that will be establishing soon will be like a model. Although this one will be a little, a little bit big compared to the small demonstration farm that I used to establish before. But I will continue. I will continue to disseminate this good, information, good news about the power of regenerative farming to save our soil, to save our planet, to save our food. Because my community, my people are very sick. Many of them are sick. But if we invest well in dissemination of this information, many people's life will be saved, and we will be able to heal our soil, to heal our planet in this dark era of agriculture.
It's so powerful. When you describe the community as being sick, are you talking about being malnourished?
No, I'm talking about the kind of food that are being grown here. The food is being poisoned a lot. I can tell you, for example, this evening, if I decide to go to the market, I can just bring, for example, I can bring maybe a tomato. I can take a tomato which has been harvested from the farm this afternoon. But this evening, this tomato fruit is on the market. And if you see it, if you just try to look at it, you take a closer look at it, you will see some sort of spores of the pesticides that have been just condensed there. That's what I mean. So it's very terrible. And most of my community, they don't have the reliable water supply. So they don't even wash it to be very strictly like it used to be. That they can be able to wash it very clean. It's very hard. They don't have enough water. So mostly they just wash a little bit and then they start to cut it and eat it. So it's very hard because these fruits are not healthy because of these pesticide spots as well that has been spotted on the fruit.
Yeah. So even though there is food available, when it's available, it's poisoning people.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the last time we spoke, I was feeling very inspired, and you were clearly in that stage of your project, as you would describe it today. I think that was the demonstrating the possibilities of regeneration to people. And it feels like now you have moved yourself into a new place of that journey where you're actually demonstrating or taking steps on the journey to demonstrate that this can be profitable and that this can be a livelihood for people, and bringing them on those next steps. And I think it's absolutely wonderful that you're keeping that energy going and you keep pushing things along. Is there a way that people can learn more about what you're doing or support what you're doing? And how can they help you to get the word out about this important topic?
Yeah. Maybe I could, because I know you have a very huge, network of this. Maybe I can call them the audience or spectators of the podcast. Along the way, I'll be sharing my journey, and will be. I mean, you will be in a position maybe to see how well we can even set up a small fundraiser to make sure that I can keep other farmers to be able to be in the board. I mean, to make them on board on this regen farming journey, to make sure that everyone is included, because this is a great movement of our time, that nobody should be left behind.
Absolutely. That's so true and so possible now we have such wonderful communication and technology.
I will be sharing my journey with you as well, while along the way, when I start, and when I reach a certain stage, when I try to integrate all these different methods in my farm. So I'll keep you posted so that we can be in the same page, and people should be aware of what is going on here.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to share again with us today. It really is very wonderful to just have that real kind of raw connection with what's happening and what the challenges are, and to once again share in your energy that you have to keep pushing things forward and making change happen. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I would like also to congratulate you as well on your end on what you do. You are doing an amazing job, or on a volunteer basis. You support um, the community as well, to create a very huge awareness through your podcast services to the people, to make sure that they are able to know exactly our big movement, and that we are on the right track. And this is a very big movement that should be supported by many people, because this is a way out from our challenges that we face in our globe today. But many people, they don't know, and sometimes because they don't know, they need some people to wake them up, and this is what you are doing. So congratulations as well.
Oh, thank you. It's very kind of you, and I think it only exists because there's such wonderful people like yourself that we can share about. So, yeah, very best of luck.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And thank you for listening to this episode of We Are Carbon. You can find links in the description to explore more from Jackson. And don't forget to subscribe here to keep up to date with new content from We Are Carbon. And let's keep figuring this all out together.